The 1954 film The Giant Claw is one of those B-movies that is often dismissed as campy schlock, but upon closer inspection it reveals an undeniable charm and honestly a weird sense of pure genius that can only be fully appreciated by diving into its unique world. Directed by Fred F. Sears and produced by Sam Katzman, The Giant Claw fits very snugly into the genre of 1950s sci-fi monster films. But what sets it apart from its contemporaries is, quite frankly, its absurdly ridiculous titular monster. A giant bird that looks more like a mutated Thanksgiving turkey than a terrifying extraterrestrial threat. Yet, somehow, against all odds, this ludicrous creature design weirdly works within the context of the film, and the movie has achieved a lasting legacy of its own. Thanks to YouTube content creators like James Rolfe, otherwise known as the Angry Video Game Nerd, who famously dissected the film in one of his videos, its status as a so-bad-it's-good type of classic has only grown stronger over time. And despite its overt silliness, there's something about The Giant Claw that lingers long after the credits roll. I first became aware of The Giant Claw through Rolfe's video, where he talked at length about his love for the movie. His review perfectly encapsulated why The Giant Claw continues to fascinate audiences to this day. The unabashed ridiculousness of the giant bird puppet juxtaposed with the dead serious performances of the cast creates an experience that's hard to forget. One of the most iconic aspects of the film that Rolfe highlighted in his review is how the characters repeatedly described the monster as being as big as a battleship.
That it was a battleship.
Something as big as a battleship.
Like we're hitting a battleship with a slingshot.
A bird as big as a battleship.
Bird as big as a battleship.
A flying battleship.
Flying battleship.
Flying battleship.
Flying battleship.
Flying battleship.
Flying battleship.
This line is both insanely goofy and strangely ominous. It's repeated multiple times throughout the movie, as though the filmmakers wanted to hammer home just how gigantic this bird is. But it also kind of makes no sense whatsoever. It's the kind of phrase that sticks with you even though it doesn't make the monster seem any more intimidating. At the heart of the film's goofy charm is, of course, the monster itself. Let's be honest, when you first see the bird, you'll probably laugh. It's a giant bug-eyed string-operated marionette that looks like it could have been lifted straight out of a Looney Tunes cartoon. The bird's oversized vulture-like head, crooked beak, and wide eyes give it an appearance more akin to a deranged turkey than a formidable extraterrestrial predator. And yet, there's just something so endearing about it. Sure, the puppet is incredibly low budget and its movements are jerky and awkward, but that almost adds to its charm. It's a creature design that is so bad, it circles back around to being good, at least in the context of a film like The Giant Claw. There's a level of earnestness in the way the monster is presented, which makes it hard to outright dismiss it. Despite the obvious limitations of the effect, there are moments in The Giant Claw that are genuinely impressive, especially for the time. One standout scene that often gets overlooked is when the monster attacks the Empire State Building. This sequence, in my opinion, is phenomenal. The fact that it perches up on the Empire State Building and then spreads its wings out is genius. It's surprisingly well composed for a film of its budget. The way that the camera angles are set up to show the bird actually scaling the skyscraper creates a real sense of scale. It's the only time where the movie actually feels like a legit monster movie, where we understand the scale and size of this beast. Considering that this was 1957 and the film didn't have access to high-end special effects or elaborate miniatures, the filmmakers made do with what they had and created some surprisingly decent shots here and there. That said, the behind-the-scenes story of the film is almost as entertaining as the movie itself. According to actor Jeff Morrow, none of the cast had any idea what the monster would actually look like until they saw the final film. I can't imagine how disappointing that must have been for them. You're expecting to be in this giant monster movie, not knowing what the titular monster even looks like. You spend weeks shooting the movie. Finally, you sit down to see it, and you realize that the movie you just made was The Giant Claw. Apparently, the film's producers had initially hoped to use stop-motion effects by Ray Harryhausen, but because of their low budget, they had to hire an effects studio in Mexico City to create the bird puppet. In my opinion, the magic of The Giant Claw lies in how the film plays it so straight. The characters are entirely serious as they deliver their lines about antimatter and bird-like creatures from outer space. The way they react to the absurdity around them with complete sincerity is part of what makes the film so enjoyable.
You are both right.
and wrong. The bird itself is not antimatter.
If the actors had winked to the camera or treated the material with even a hint of irony, the film would lose pretty much all of its charm. Instead, their earnest performances serve as a stark contrast to the laughable bird, creating a delightful dissonance that makes the movie endlessly entertaining. The film's charm wasn't lost on me when I worked on my second feature film, Pesticide. In fact, I was so inspired by this movie that I used clips of it in the opening title montage of my film. The inclusion of those clips not only paid homage to a film that has meant a lot to me as a fan of the kaiju genre, but it also set the tone for Pesticide, a film that embraces the same spirit of low-budget creativity and fun that defines the Giant Claw. The special effects in the Giant Claw may be laughable by modern standards, but for 1957, they weren't entirely out of the norm for low-budget sci-fi films. Many films of that era were produced on a shoestring budget, and The Giant Claw was no exception. While it would have been nice to have seen what the film could have been with a higher budget and Harryhausen's stop-motion magic, there's something just so undeniably charming about the marionette approach. The film's low-budget aesthetic adds to its appeal, making it a perfect example of the so-bad-it's-good phenomenon. Despite its many flaws, The Giant Claw has developed a loyal cult following over the years, in part because of just how ridiculous it is, but also because it's a genuinely fun movie to watch. It may not be a cinematic masterpiece, but it's a film that doesn't take itself too seriously, and that's part of what makes it so enjoyable. The film embodies the spirit of 1950s sci-fi with its earnest performances, campy special effects, and its wildly improbable premise. Whether you're watching it for the first time or revisiting it for the 100th time like me, there's something uniquely enjoyable about The Giant Claw. So grab some popcorn, suspend your disbelief, and prepare to witness one of the most hilariously absurd monsters in film history. The Giant Claw is waiting.
That it was a battleship.
Something as big as a battleship.
Like we're hitting a battleship with a slingshot.
A bird as big as a battleship.
Bird as big as a battleship.
A flying battleship.
Flying battleship.
Shut up! Oh my God, I don't care!
And with all that out of the way, I'm Cole McCormick. You're watching Firewood Media, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. Right now on the channel, we are celebrating Halloween. I just posted a podcast with my buddy Billy from Woodstock Roadshow. In this podcast, we went over all of our favorite movies to watch around Halloween, so it's kind of just like a grab bag of like random movies. We go over Shin Godzilla, we talk about some zombie movies, and even some weird ones that you might not expect. So go and check that out. Either way, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.